let me extend a good evening and welcome to Bryson Gymnasium on the campus of Warren Wilson College. I'm Rodney Green, class of 1989, and I bring you greetings from Forest City, North Carolina. I'm one of the co-chair members of the 2013 Hall of Fame Committee, and last year, history was made at Warren Wilson as we formed the Hall of Fame Committee, implemented the strategic steps, and inducted our first class into the Hall of Fame. What an exciting accomplishment. And if any of those individuals or family members are present this evening, I say welcome back. This evening, history will be made again as moments away, more inductees will take their place in the historical Athletic Hall of Fame. As I welcome you, I'm thankful and remindful of the gracious hard work and the countless hours this Hall of Fame committee members have endured. So what can you expect tonight? Many, many emotions will be displayed among inductees, family members, teammates, and friends. We want you to capture these moments via photos, social gatherings, Facebook, videos, and any other method you choose. After the induction ceremony here at Bryson, we will conclude the final Hall of Fame ceremony at DeVries Gymnasium. Tonight is an honor and a privilege for our inductees, based on their hard work and dedication and commitment to achieve athletic stardom at Warren Wilson. The Hall of Fame Committee is delighted to see such a rapid increase in alumni supporting our endeavors, which is evident of our attendance here tonight. Lots of great athletic moments, points scored, record number of wins, overtime victories, and so on will be shared throughout this weekend. Let me remind you of the old wives' tale. The older we get, the better and better that story sounds. It might even start something like this: remember when we. I conclude my welcome by saying to all in attendance, thank you for attending, and I hope you will be inspired by what you witnessed here this evening. And to our inductees, welcome back to the Valley.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I'd like to welcome you all here. This endeavor is very well supported by the administration. My name is Dr. Stephen King, and I played basketball here for Warren Wilson a long time ago. Richard Heck, Eleanor Oster, William Sharp, Bruce Merrifield, Glenn Seaboard, Ralph Bunch. I'm guessing not too many people in this room recognize any of those names. But they are all Nobel Prize laureates. And unless you have a degree or an education in chemistry, biochemistry, economics, political science, they probably don't rise to your level of recognition. These are all the Nobel Prize laureates from a school that you know as UCLA. But an individual took up employment at UCLA in 1948. He finished his career there in 1975. He won 12 national titles, NCAA Division I basketball, 7 in a row. He is thought of by most authors and sports reporters and historians as the greatest basketball coach who ever lived. And that individual is John Robert Wooden. Now, while the 6 Nobel Prize laureates from UCLA are wonderful, for 3 decades, UCLA was defined by a small individual that taught men and young men how to be men in the outside world. He taught them how to compete. He taught them how to win and lose with grace. He taught them to compete fairly. Athletics has a place in our higher institutions of learning, as it did at UCLA for that long of a period of time. Recently I was asked, why should we have athletics and academics anymore? You can get a degree online. Why? And I said, the answer is in your question. You can't dribble a basketball on a computer. You can't play a violin. You can't participate in the extracurricular activities. What we're here tonight to witness and to honor is why athletics is so important. It enriches, it teaches our youth the way to proceed through dedication, teamwork, and hard work. I salute you, and on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I welcome you.
Thank you, Dr. King. My name is Tim Deitch, and I'm co-chair. I'm an alum, 1983 alum, and I'm co-chair of the Hall of Fame Committee. And I'd like to welcome everyone, as the others have done. And more than anything, say thanks for coming. It's an extremely important moment for these athletes and contributors to the program. And it's wonderful to see and know the energy and the feelings that you have for each of them. It's just great to see. Okay, so in many ways, the Hall of Fame already feels like a natural part of Warren Wilson College, but it's not, right? It's the second year, and so it's very much in startup still. And the purpose of my comments here, before we turn the evening over to the guests of honor, is to give you an update on how we got here, some of the approach that we've taken to elect our inductees for this evening, and give you a little sense of where we're going next. And so I will be as brief as I can so that we can get on to the real reason. But I think it's important to hear this. So first, the Athletic Hall of Fame program is the result of an extremely hardworking committee and the tremendous support of the Warren Wilson College administration. The committee has established the nomination process. They handle all the correspondence and communication to the athletes and contributors. We do the event planning and the recognition, and we ultimately select the inductees. And it's as most all of us are doing this in a voluntary capacity. So in that sense, we're very Warren Wilson-like. And so before going forward, I would like to ask all the committee members in attendance to stand or otherwise step forward if you're still standing and receive some recognition from the crowd. Like all good committee members, no one's sitting, they're all right. Now, a bit of a departure from the actual Hall of Fame. We've already become a little bit more than a Hall of Fame at this point. You know, the Hall of Fame was created to fill a historical void of recognition that many of us who are athletes here understand the void this is filling. And it's a recognition of individual excellence. But the committee realized that we have an opportunity while this is happening to do the same thing for our teams. Because we understand, all of us understand, what it takes to be an excellent team at a school like ours. With all that we're asked to do and gladly do, to excel as a team in our sport is tough to do. And so, in acknowledgement of that, we've established the Team of Excellence program. And the first Team of Excellence recognition is going to take place tomorrow at DeVries at 5 o'clock. So just after the men's soccer game is over, we encourage all of you who are out in the field or otherwise wherever you are, go to DeVries, and we have a chance to recognize our first set of Teams of Excellence. So here's the criteria. It's pretty straightforward. One criteria, win a championship. Win a championship in the league, district, or conference you were in at the time that you played here. That's simple. So tomorrow, we have a chance to do something a little bit different than the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame need to be have departed or graduated from school 5 years before you are eligible to go in. But if you're a team of champion, a team of excellence, excuse me, you go in right away. So tomorrow, we get a chance right off the bat to recognize the national champion men's basketball team from last year. So current students and a few of those seniors who are coming back are going to be recognized right after that, and that's very cool to be able to do it so immediately. We also have a chance to go back in time around 30 years to the 1980, 81, and 81-82 men's basketball teams who won consecutive NLCAA district and conference championships. So it's going to be great. Most of them are back. Come on out and see. Second criteria for the teams of excellence is to have completed an undefeated regular season. You know, as most of us know, over the years here, it's hard to tell what we were part of at certain points in time. But we know this: if you finished undefeated in a collegiate play, you were a team of excellence. And so tomorrow is our first chance. We'll go back 50 years in time to the 1963 and 64 teams of Coach Sam Miller, who played in consecutive junior college national championships after undefeated seasons. And so there you go. In future years, we'll recognize other qualifying teams in timings that tend to coincide with their 5-year anniversaries. Right? So for instance, not too long from now, the 1975 men's soccer team, represented by a number of folks in this room, is going to receive a Team of Excellence recognition. It's coached by Steinbrecher, who's here with us, of course. They won the NAIA district championships in 1975, and they'll likely be recognized at the 40th anniversary of that moment 2 years ago. So we look forward to seeing that. Okay, so plan to join us tomorrow at 5 for a recognition that we feel is just as important. Okay, so back to tonight. Tonight's inductees. Unlike our charter members from last year, tonight's inductees were nominated by their peers and friends. And we received, in this last cycle, 36 nominations. Once in-house, what happens is we scour the internal records that we have to provide as much tangible data as possible to the nominee's record. Then the committee selects the inductees from that pool. All right, some important considerations. Number one is excellence. It's extremely important now and moving forward that our Hall of Fame inductees reflect proven excellence and commitment. We work hard to ensure that the nominees' performance record is sound and their accolades supported by data and their peers and others. We also, along the way, want to honor our culture of inclusion here at Warren Wilson. The committee believes that alumni or friends of Wilson should have the first voice in the nomination. This allows us to gather names and the essence of the candidates over the years. So this year, our 36 nominations represented 8 decades of Warren Wilson athletes and 9 different sports. All nominations not selected for induction stay in the pool for future consideration. Okay, so we're catching up, right? We have a long way to go. With respect to the Hall of Fame membership, we're going to get caught up over the next few years, right? So along the way, we intend to bring forward inductees drawn from a cross-section of these decades, right? And all those sports that they played over the time, and the men and women of these teams. So tonight, our inductees, they played or coached in 6 of the 8 decades of organized sports here, and each represents a different sport in their own right. Categories. Our inductees are selected from 3 different categories, and all 3 are in evidence this evening. One category is the alumni, or the contributing athlete, sort of classically, the Hall of Famer. It recognizes the extraordinary performance of an athlete in their chosen sport. Tonight, Jim Martin, Kylie Krauss, and Jimmie Terry come from that category. We recognize the category of the athletic program contributor, people whose contributions created lasting value to students and the program as a whole. Coach Steinbrecher, Coach Kahl, whose athletic excellence or commitment from their non-school life sheds positive light or impact on our school. And that is Anne Lundblad. Okay, time to turn the evening over to our honored guests. So I've been privileged to have the chance to speak with or fully know their backgrounds. And I'm struck, certainly as you will be, by individual excellence that they brought to the table. And yet they all have things in common that I think you'll also see. They all share a profound appreciation for their school. Each speak of how they gain more from our school than they gave. They have an enormous passion for and commitment to their school. They have a common humility, wondering why they're chosen when others have not been. And they share a common sense of gratitude. Each of them are quick to praise others and deflect their own success. And I think you'll see that in the words. I know most of you are here to support your favorite inductee. That's all. But I think you're going to love them all. So each of our inductees will be introduced by current student athletes, and each will have a few minutes to share their thoughts. And here to lead us through this process is a Hall of Fame committee member of her own distinction, both before her arrival in Wilson and now. In the early 80s, she earned second-team All-American honors, while her University of North Carolina soccer teams won 3 straight NCAA titles. She's a member of the United States women's soccer national team in 1985 and 86. She's been here for 13 years, serving as athletic director and women's soccer coach, and she's led her Owls team to USCAA national tournament appearances in 2001, 3, 6, 11, and 12. 5 years. Please welcome Stacy Keene.
Well, welcome and welcome back. So good to see so many faces. Are you guys ready to get this going? Yeah. All right. I have a wonderful student athlete, Letitia, that gets to introduce Jim Martin tonight. I want to share a little bit about Tisha with you. Tisha is a senior, and she comes from us from Chestnut Hills, Massachusetts. She is a math major and an art minor. She spent all last semester in Florence, Italy, studying art. And if you get the opportunity to come in front of degrees, you'll notice the Carson bricks are our new front patio, and that's because of Tisha. And then you'll notice we have a new beautiful grill out front, and Tisha also is a contributor to that work. She's a phenomenal artist. She puts a lot of energy into the campus. I'm hoping before she leaves, apparently she might be helping out with our big owl that's supposed to go in front of DeVries. That's a gift from Ike Bell, so we're hoping we get a chance to nab her and get some rock work done. But Tish is on the swim team, and she's a phenomenal swimmer. And she broke a varsity record, I believe last year, in the 1 and 200 breaststroke. So she's on her way. We hope she breaks more records this year. So without further ado, Tisha Mead.
Jim's uncle, a Presbyterian minister in Burnsville, North Carolina, told his mother about Warren Wilson High School. His mom and uncle thought it would be good for him to get away. And so it was decided that Jim would go to the school that valued work and education near Asheville. He was 13 when he enrolled at Warren Wilson in the fall of 1942. He younger than all other students. He was still pretty small. He was, in his own words, the smallest, most insignificant person. Because of his short stature, he earned the nickname P-Dab, which is the smallest ball, usually made of clay and not glass, in the classic game of marbles. He was not to remain small and insignificant for long. Jim found a place on the farm crew, supervised by the legendary Bernard Larson, working under Fesser's appraising eye for all of 6 years, put muscle on the boy, and he found a place in athletics. Athletics, Martin said, was an important part of my experience at Warren Wilson and contributed more to my growth and development than I did to the athletic program. Here, he is simply being modest, because the truth of the matter is that James Martin was an outstanding athlete, participating in 3 sports: football, basketball, and baseball. Martin was truly gifted on the basketball court and baseball field. As a starter for the Aggies in basketball, Martin made the varsity team in his junior year and quickly established himself as an outstanding forward. He was the highest scorer in most games for the Aggies and the opponent. For 3 years running, Martin scored the most points of anyone on the basketball team. In his final year, he was named the most valuable player in the Asheville City League tournament. His skill on the court did not go unnoticed, for when he transferred to what is now Western Carolina University in Pellowville, he attended on an earned basketball scholarship. He also found success on the baseball diamond, playing both outfield and pitcher. His love for baseball carried over into his adult years. For many years after graduating from Western, he enjoyed playing fast-pitch softball with some high-level skilled teams. Nowadays, Jim enjoys playing golf for fun, especially with his wife, Ruth. They have been married for almost 63 years. For his significant contribution to the Aggies football, basketball, and baseball teams as a high school and junior college student from 1942 to 1948, we induct James M. P-Dab Martin into the athletic Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much, Tish, for that fine introduction. For those of you who haven't met my wonderful wife, Ruth, I would like for you to do so before you leave. We met in Western Carolina, dated for a couple of years, got married, and as we said, have now been married almost 63 years. We've begun to think it's probably going to last. I was very much surprised and really honored to be chosen for the Warren Wilson Athletic Hall of Fame. All the years I was here, 65 years or more since I left, I don't ever remember thinking that I had either contributed more or done better for Warren Wilson Athletics and all those good teammates who participated with me, like Ernst Larson, who's here with us tonight. I think it's obvious that I place a lot of emphasis on athletics, and you can see that from the number of teams I played on, the number of games I played. But I think that's even better illustrated by the fact that Dr. Jensen had me in his office more than one time to tell me about his idea that I seem to be spending far more time on my work on the farm and athletics than I was on academics. Each time he said that, I'd assure him I'd go buckle down, get with those books, and as soon as I was dismissed, I'd probably get off to the gym, boxing gym, the baseball field, or the football field, and get ready for the next game. I wish I could see Dr. Jensen now, because I would love to tell him that his advice finally sank in, made real good sense to me. I was able to graduate from Western Carolina with honors and earn a master's degree when I returned from service during the Korean War. I was asked if I would think of 2 or 3 incidents to guess that I came up with a lot of them. I'm not sure how many would be worthy of your time, but I'll share a few of them with you. I found out the biggest thing in athletics has already been mentioned, and that is teamwork. You aren't going to get into work without good teammates. One time I remember we were playing a football game. Coach DeBreeze got us together before the game and gave us a really exciting pep talk and said they've been undefeated. They're going to think it'll be easy if you just go out there and really take it to them. That first half, I think you might be able to beat it. We went out there, we really took it to them that first half, and we were leading the half 6-0. About all we did was make them mad, and at the end of the game, they were 36 and we were 6. What we learned was you really got to finish the game. A good half is really not going to help that much. Another time I remember when I could really use one more block, I had fielded a punt, and somehow I got around the left side. Here I am trucking down the sideline, sure I'm going to score a touchdown. And one of the faster, better players of the other team came flying to the side. I didn't see it. Knocked me about 6 rows up in the bleachers. Stopped all my thinking I was going to score anything. It reminds me again that no matter how much athletics you play, you're always going to find people who are bigger than you are, who are faster than you are, who are stronger than you are, and who can play better than you can. And if you really want to win, you've got to use the talents of everybody on the team. That advice and knowledge served me extremely well during a 35-year career in management at the Bell South. Now, I could just go and tell this story about a lot of things. Baseball was one of my favorites. My two best and longest friends, every time I pitched, they stand behind this big wire screen and back home plate. As soon as the game's over, they'd come up to me and say they didn't see how in the world I ever won a game because I had absolutely nothing on the ball. And I got tired of that, of course. But you know, what they couldn't see was I could almost throw a screwball. And if it was going well, I could pitch very well. So in one game, which was one of my best games, it was going well. And you know, my memory must be bad because I fully remember I struck out 17 of the 21 batters in the face. That must have been much less than that, because that don't sound reasonable to me. But I went back and told those fellas, they see what I had on the ball. No, they hadn't seen a thing. So I remember the worst game I ever played. I was pitching over at Blue Ridge School for Boys. They had a big grown-up ravine all the way around the outfield. And I don't know how many balls they get in that ravine. I only saw one going fly, but a large number rolled over. Coach Bridge took me out, put me in center field where I often played for one pitcher. And the bad thing about that was I had to stand out near that center field the rest of the game and think about all those balls I'd seen go into that ravine. Now, I think probably my best sport, of course, obviously was basketball. And I thought, what in the world can I tell the folks about basketball that they would like? But what I really thought was, well, you know, you have some good times and bad times, and I would tell you the night I scored the most points in basketball and the night I scored the fewest, but I scored quite a few points. The night I scored the most, there was a real fine young lady that I was pal around with a good bit at the time, told me one afternoon that she's going to kiss me for every point I scored over 25 that night. And I'm sure, my wife don't know this, I'm sure she felt totally safe because it was sort of hard to score 25 points. Well, I must have been highly motivated. I scored 42 and I'll tell you right now, I bet Ernst Larson and my other teammates are still wondering why I refused to pass that ball. But, well, you may say, well, did you win? You know, my memory may be bad, but as I remember, we scored 62 and once the other team scored 56, and yes, we won. The next question may be, of course, back to physics. I think the young lady said something to the effect that she really was just sort of teasing, and she really wanted me to score a lot of points that night, and that I had done that. I should have learned right then that you can't always believe everything you do. Now, I really thought about this. I had a lot of fun and a lot of sports, and obviously played a lot of them. But anyhow, what things really have stuck in my mind throughout the years from all those fine memories I had in Bryson View and other places. I came came up with a couple I'd like to share with you. One was after the last game I played at Warren Wilson. I pitched a baseball game in the spring of 1948, and it was one of those games where I was pitching well. And after the game, Dr. Jensen wrote my mother a real nice letter describing the game I pitched that day and the contributions I'd made to Warren Wilson while I was here. My mother really prized that letter. My mother and father were divorced. My mother was a teacher in Alabama. My father was a coach and teacher in Tennessee. Neither of the two of them had ever seen me play a game. My mother was always worried that all those sports were going to cause me to have an enlarged heart. You know, mother's always worried about something. So she's afraid I'm going to have an enlarged heart, and I was really glad for her to see that I had really made some accomplishment through all those athletics. Second, in my latter years in basketball at Warren Wilson, opposing teams almost always came up with some kind of special defense to keep me from scoring. They would play a, 4-1, boxing one. They would put 2 men on me every time I got the ball. They'd get the largest man to guard me so I couldn't score. And there's a variety of activities they would use to keep me from scoring. The thing that made me proud was I was able to play well enough to earn a scholarship at Western Carolina, which was very bad with my family because we didn't have a lot of extra money. Now, I'm really proud of the honor for contributions that I have made to athletics at Warren Wilson. But as has been said before, I can assure you that the work program, the athletic program, and the academic program at Warren Wilson did a lot more for my growth and development and becoming a successful adult than I ever did for them. For this, I'll always be grateful. Thank you very much.
Our second presenter this evening is Alessia Bavaria. She is going to introduce Kylie Krauss, mountain bike. Alessia is a dual sport athlete. She competes on the mountain bike team, and she also competes on the paddling team. She is from Smithtown, New York. Swim team. Swim team. Also, tri-sport athlete. How do you do it all? Gracious. She's from Smithtown, New York. She's a biochemistry major, an outdoor leadership major. She's also on the landscaping crew. In her junior year, she helped the mountain bike team place fourth last year. She also placed 10th in the women's omnium on the mountain bike team last year, which is a combination event that includes short track, cross country, downhill, and dual slalom. Last year, she was part of the paddling team that also became a national champion. So she took first place at the ACA Whitewater Championship. So, Alessia.
Thanks, Stacey. It's my honor to introduce Kylie Krauss for the 2015 Hall of Fame victim. Kylie attended Warren Wilson College from 2004 to 2007. She raced all 4 years on the mountain bike team for head coach Art Schuster, affectionately known by his team as Schuster. The biology major from Cleveland, Ohio, became team captain in just her sophomore year and went on to lead the team until graduation. Coach Schuster describes Kylie as a leader on and off the bike. Kylie stayed fit year-round and started most mornings with a run. Schuster said their morning runs were as essential as most people's breakfast. Kylie also stayed academically engaged, earning academic honors and was a committed member of the forestry group. Kylie's petite stature and her easygoing smile kept her editors guessing about her ability. When in high job, she was off to the races. Kylie counts the pedals of the 2007, Kylie Krauss finally earned her Stars and Stripes jersey. She was a national champion. She took first place in the grueling 20-mile cross-country race. Coach Schuster recalls nationals in 2007 trying to track Kylie on the cross-country course. He said it was an odd day because it was muddy but also cold. Kylie dipped into the woods behind a few riders, but when he ran to the interception point, she had somehow taken the lead. The finish was a 1-mile sprint uphill on a gravel road. Hart said he ran beside her as long as he could keep up, pushing her to the finish. He said when he finally looked back, he realized she had gained a solid minute on second-place rider, and he knew Kylie would be a national champion. She earned her second national championship jersey by being the best overall rider at nationals. The Omnium is a combination of top scorers in cross-country, short track, downhill, and dual slalom. Coach Schuster said Kylie standing on the podium as national champion was her destiny due to her work ethic, drive, and determination to be the best. Coach Schuster believes her efforts gave her team a second-place finish at the Nationals in 2007. Kylie says her biggest regret is not winning Coach Schuster a national championship that year. However, her 2004-2000 team record standing is very impressive. In 2004, she took third-place team finishes at Nationals. In 2005, second-place team finishes at Nationals. In 2006, second-place team finish at Nationals. And in 2007, Kylie won the Omnium and Cross Country National Championship, Stars and Stripes jersey, and assisted the team with a second-place finish. She was a 3-year captain. Kylie earned all academic honors her junior and senior year and the Klein C. Haltz Award, which is the athletic department's highest honor to a student athlete. After graduation, Kylie went to ride pro and placed second and third at the U23 Nationals. However, her fondest accomplishment was pedaling across the country in 2007 from Maryland to Oregon with Warren Wilson teammates Casey Gish, Tom Hughes, and Kevin Biggs. For her contribution and commitment to the Warren Wilson College mountain bike program, the Hall of Fame committee has selected Kylie Krauss as an inductee into the Athletic Hall of Fame.
In terms of the 3 things that I think contributed to my success, it would be work ethic, grit, and community. Work ethic, that's just always kind of been my nature because I've never been talented at anything. So work's the only thing that's ever followed me through. Grit, it's such an awesome experience being part of the Warren Wilson College mountain bike team because that is one of the few sports where your equipment really does make a difference, which is an unfortunate truth, but something you deal with. And Warren Wilson kids have always showed up on bikes that don't work very well, under conditions and training regimes that aren't very professional. And we consistently do really well, and a lot of that is just because of our work ethic and our love for just riding bikes in circles. So I think that's always awesome. And then community. I've always, I guess they talked about my running, which is embarrassing. I still run every morning. But I've kind of had this, I've always been kind of an endurance athlete doing my own thing, and team sports have always been a hard thing for me until the Warren Wilson College cycling team when I could combine an individual endurance sport with an exceptional community experience. And the role models that I met through cycling have been off the charts amazing. I'm very sorry for Eric Schuster's absence tonight. He was an exceptionally significant role model in my life. Addie, Lev, the female role models in cycling have been absolutely incredible. And I just want to take a minute to remember Style Cummings, Callum Robertson, Ricky Gockel, and Austin Wright, who are teammates and very good friends of mine that have passed. So it's a hard hit that the cycling community at Warren Wilson has taken, and it's awkward for me to be up here because I feel like I'm representing this thing that has contributed so much to me. I'm not sure how much I've come back. But it has changed my life, and I'm very grateful for it. I'm really thankful to be able to represent the Hall of Fame in Warren Wilson College. So thank you.
Our next presenter is Elliot Gold, and he will be speaking on behalf of Hank Steinbrecher. Elliot is a senior from Tacoma Park, Maryland. He is a social work major. He's a 4-year soccer player, and I hope you come out and watch him play tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And he's also a team captain. Elliot serves on the rental and renovations crew. Elliot's kind of the leader on the team. He's just a really nice player out on the pitch, and he plays with a great vision and a great finesse. And I was very honored that he accepted the invitation to speak on behalf of such an influential person here in our community. So, Elliot Gold.
It's my privilege to introduce you to a man and coach whose impact on our campus is one of legend, passion, and pride. It's also my privilege to formally induct Coach Steinbrecher into our Hall of Fame, but the fact is, he's no stranger to Hall of Famers. In 1992, he was inducted into the Davis and Elkins Hall of Fame. In 1996, the NAIA Hall of Fame. In 2000, the North Carolina Hall of Fame. In 2004, he was elected a life member of U.S. Soccer. In 2005, the Boston University Hall of Fame. In 2006, the United States Soccer Hall of Fame. And in 2013, he became the chairman of the board of the U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame. So it's pretty clear that he saved the best for last. Many of us know that on many levels, U.S. is a latecomer to the soccer world. The enormous diversity of the sport played around the globe creates a unique swagger and intensity wherever it's played. More than a pastime, soccer is loved and played passionately within and across most cultures. For one 5-year period in the 1970s, Hank Steinbrecher brought all of this energy and more to our school. Hank is a Rockaway Beach, New York native who grew up playing soccer, and as an undergraduate, he won an NAIA national championship at Davis and Elkins College. He received his BA in English at Davis and Elkins in 1972, then his Master's of Education from West Virginia University. He and his wife, Ruth Ann, have 2 sons, Chad, a retired Navy SEAL, and Corey, a retired professional cyclist, now in medical school. In August, they celebrated their 41st anniversary. Coach Steinbrecher's career path is consistently soccer and consistently excellent. Let's review his path by working backwards from his national prominence to his Division I coaching and then to his time with us. So nearly 30 years ago, in 1984, Hank was pulled away from his head coach role at Boston University when he was invited by the Los Angeles Olympic Organizing Committee to become the venue director for the games to be played at Harvard. His rise was swift. From 1990 to 2000, Hank served as CEO and Secretary General of U.S. Soccer, the governing body of soccer in all its forms in the United States. He was instrumental in bringing soccer to prominence in the United States. During these years, Hank oversaw the staging of 2 of the most successful men's and women's World Cups, held in the United States in 1994 and 1999. Soccer America magazine called him Reverend Hank and cited Hank's ambassadorial message, "Our time has come," as a motto that rang out in every stadium and through every page of U.S. Soccer's March to Glory. In 2006, Hank became the 64th recipient of the National Soccer Coaches Association of America Award. And in 2012, U.S. Soccer named Hank its latest Foreigner Figure Builder Award winner, an honor bestowed to an individual who has worked tirelessly in furthering the interest of the sport of soccer without regard to personal recognition or achievement. Now to his Division I coaching years. In 1978, Coach Steinbrecher served at Appalachian State University as associate professor and soccer coach. Over 3 seasons, he led the Mountaineers to a 33-10-2 record, including an unmatched record of 20-0 in Southern Conference play. In 1978, he was named Southern Conference Coach of the Year and an NSCAA Regional Coach of the Year. In 1982, he began 4 years at Boston University, where he led his team to the ECAC playoffs and produced multiple All-Americans, before finally being plucked away by U.S. Soccer. In addition, for a number of years, Hank delved into the sports and product marketing business, where he was equally successful. He brokered breakthrough marketing agreements to bring Gatorade into the American psyche through the NFL, NBA, MLB, and NASCAR. Now on to Warren Wilson. Coach Steinbrecher's charismatic influence on Warren Wilson College soccer and the players he led is captured in the voices and stories they tell to this day. He came to Warren Wilson in 1973, and for the next 5 years, his teams racked up an impressive 45-22-6 record, including capturing the NAIA District 6 title. He was named the NAIA Coach of the Year in 1975. Hank's teams were comprised of international students from Africa, South America, Europe, and Asia, some prep school kids from the Northeast, and a few locals with little experience. No one was turned away. Hank led his teams through drive, determination, and passion, mostly passion. His teams, in turn, pulled in the larger Warren Wilson community that took great joy in their success. Imagine the then treeless hillside above the soccer fields, jam-packed with students, staff, and locals. In fact, in 1975, classes were canceled as students loaded buses to witness the NAIA Regional Championship game. Through his players, his impact has been felt on and off campus long after his departure. Off campus, his players have gone on to play professional soccer, and many have coached at the professional, collegiate, high school, and youth levels. For these players, his impact was richly empowering, and they continue to pay it forward today. On campus, his players who stayed in the area assisted with Wilson teams and shared his teaching and passion. And for 30 years, the annual Tournament of Friends indoor soccer tournament brought dozens of teams and schools to our campus. Starting during Hank's time, it was a testament to Hank's spirit, as it was graced for many years with the presence of the Color Tones, a team comprised of his players and their recruits, who served as keepers of the passion he instilled. It's okay to imagine that this is the most important Hall of Fame for Hank Steinbrecher, though not for us to say. To his players, he was larger than life, and that's all that matters to them. Ladies and gentlemen, in honor of the profound influence he's had on our student athletes in Warren Wilson community, and for his remarkable impact on the growth of soccer in the United States, please welcome Coach Hank Steinbrecher to the Warren Wilson College.
Eli, that was one heck of an intro, and it ain't true. It was the kind of introduction that my mother would have absolutely loved, and my father would never have believed. Before I begin speaking tonight, I'd like to recognize my soulmate, my partner, and my wife, the love of my life, who was a student at Warren Wilson College, Ruth Ann. Ladies and gentlemen of the Hall of Fame committee, trustees, friends, student athletes, thank you ever so much for this high honor. And believe me, I consider it a high honor. My wife and I drove onto campus today, and I was reminded of the stellar beauty of Warren Wilson and how fundamentally important it was in my life. Let me elaborate. Ernst, where's Ernst? Ernst, Dino, whether they realize it or not, these guys served as role models for me throughout my life. Dean because he was the epitome of academic excellence and athletic vigor. Ernst because every day you woke up, you had integrity. That has carried with me forever. You are my role models. I was also the beneficiary of having an incredible group of people to work Our teams at Warren Wilson, I was not much older than the players were. In fact, 3 of the players were older than I was. So I think we had a meeting of the minds. Sam Millar, who took us to national championships at Warren Wilson in junior college, was a great inspiration for me, and cannot go unmentioned here tonight. You know, Tennyson in Ulysses tells us, I am part of all whom I have met. I am part of all that I have met. That's certainly true of me. Pardon me. After receiving my baccalaureate and postgraduate degrees, my wife and I came to the mountains of the Swanville Valley and absolutely fell in love with this little gem of an educational conduit that we call Warren Wilson College. It was here that my true education began, because I learned the value of the triad and what it meant to my entire life and to my work. First was an undying commitment to education and lifelong learning. Second was a commitment to work for its own self, for the joy of work. Third was a spirit of selflessness that permeated this campus in service to others. This should be in the core of all of our hearts and run through our veins. The triad has been a fundamental building block of my life, my parenthood, and my profession. Also at Warren Wilson, we had 17 nationalities playing on our team. Very difficult to communicate with 17 different nationalities. You tell them that game time was at one time, everybody would think it'd be like 3 days later. But we had folks I've been at the highest levels of sport. And we had a chemistry with those teams that I have never seen replicated at any level. I'll tell you what. Let me begin that by a story. Imagine a soccer junkie from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you very much. Helping to organize the largest sporting event in the world, the FIFA World Cup, in my country, in my city. It's an immense undertaking, and one that I had incredible pride in. Think for a second of being in the VIP box, center of the field, knowing the past 6 years have been dedicated to working to bring this event to fruition. Looking down on the field at opening ceremonies with Oprah Winfrey, Diana Ross, and all these dignitaries. And standing there when our national anthem played, putting my hand over my heart. I get emotional about it. And tears came to my eyes. And I had this profound feeling of joy and happiness. And I wasn't thinking about things that I thought I'd be thinking about in this culminating moment of my career. I was thinking about my teammates here at Warren Wilson College. It is not very far from that field in Swananoa to the finals of the World Cup organizing committee. It's not very far at all. A little bit more elaboration. 2 years ago, I suffered a rather significant health setback. Now, the men and women, I say yes, women, because women played on our team. The men and women of that team, of those teams, cared for each other. We loved each other. I had this significant health setback. Don't you know it that 10 guys from that team got on a plane, traveled to Chicago to be with me for the weekend? You talk about love. I had a heart problem, but I said this was medicine for my soul. It was one of the most remarkable things ever to happen to me. Not even a year later, we decided at that time together was so valuable, and we enjoyed each other so much that we would rent a house on the beach for the weekend with all our families. And you want to talk about a hell of a time. It was absolutely awesome. Yes, Tennyson got it right. I am part of all whom I have met. I want to thank you for this stellar honor. Believe me, it means a great deal. That introduction was the best I've ever seen. You've done some research. You must be a good student. But more importantly, thank you all for being such a large part of my life. I am what you have been. Thank you all, and God bless. Overtime. You have amongst you a legend and a pioneer. This lady played in those games. And she was the national champion. So that's one overtime. Another overtime I didn't mention, and I've forgotten, is not only were we close, but one of your board of trustees today played on those teams and happens to be my business partner. Andy Bowles, God love you.
So many stories. Next up, we have Jacob Solid, who will speak on behalf of Dean Kahl. Jake is a senior from Cincinnati, Ohio. He is a psychology major and a biology minor. He is on the health center crew. We like that a lot. Jake is a four-year swimmer. He received the rookie award his freshman year. This year he is a captain of the swim team. Jake is a hard worker, and Coach Andrew Pulsper will tell you his times come down every year, and he takes his training very seriously and works very hard at it. He's also a dual sport athlete. He competes on the paddling team in the off-season of swimming. And last year he took fourth in the open boat canoe. So, Jacob Soley.
Good evening. It is my honor to introduce Hall of Fame inductee, Dean Kahl. It was the fall of 1968, and Dean Kahl, graduate student, was still working away on his dissertation when a form letter, a wrinkled but very well-written letter from Henry Jensen, Dean of Warren Wilson College, arrived, looking for someone to teach chemistry for the next academic year. Kahl answered that letter, and after the usual interview process, was hired. He planned to stay at Warren Wilson for a few years and then move on, hopefully to a bigger place. But like so many who came here with that exact same life plan, he too stayed for his entire career, retiring just this past May after 44 years of teaching. In the fall of 1969, as a brand new faculty member, Dean recalled that someone announced at a staff meeting there were several students who wanted to form a cross-country team. Having run competitively in high school and college, Dean thought, oh well, I can do that, and volunteered on the spot. And so a cross-country team was born. Dean ran with the guys. That first team numbered about 6, several days a week, and he drove them to the few meets that they qualified to run in. The next year, Wilson hosted his first goal meet, and then in 1972, at homecoming, the first Warren Wilson Invitational was held. And for 23 years after that, 5 to 7 teams from other colleges would come here, start the run at the library, run all through the campus, around the farm, and then finish near the entrance of Gladfelder. It was a fun event, one that opponents enjoyed attending year after year. And for Kahl, it was something he always looked forward to organizing every year. Over his 22 years as a coach, he estimates he has trained about 150 runners, many of whom were new to the sport of competitive running. The cross-country team was collectively known as the Big Blue Running Machine. As a coach, it wasn't about just winning. It was about the journey, training young men and women to run, the thrill of competition, traveling to and from meets in the Warren Wilson Band, eating together afterwards, sharing the rituals of a cross-country competition. It was fun to work with the amazing students who were part of the Big Blue Running Machine, Dean said. However, I suspect that I received more than I gave. Dean's commitment and style is captured in the following story told by one of his runners. Dean used a format of democracy and fairness rather than a dictatorial approach to his program. There was a time when some members of the team wanted to change the race course, away from the then existing course, which ran past the pit bars and climbs over a couple of 4.5-foot fences, a bit higher than the standard steeplechase. Dean called it European-style cross-country. A few of us had been to Europe at that age, and probably fewer here tonight understand how much pig room you can expert for running a 6-minute mile pace. The proposal was to move the course to a very challenging double loop, running up Suicide Ridge, a giant hill behind the old soccer field. Plus, up the hill of the pasture behind Northwest Lane, twice, totaling 5 miles. Dean thought we were nuts, even by Wilson standards, who said majority rules. That year, there was a talented runner on the team who was against moving the course. This person rarely attended practice. On the day of the vote, this runner just happened to show up for practice to cast a vote. Dean pulled this person aside and politely said that voting on this issue was a privilege gained by participating in practices, and their vote would not be counted. The dedicated majority did rule, and the course was changed. The demanding nature of the running course, which the team was able to practice on, helped put runners from other schools in distress. Dean saw fit to let us make our own way, and it paid off in a number of ways that year. For his dedication to the sport of running, for his enthusiasm as a coach, mentor, and organizer of the successful homecoming meet for over 20 years, for his service to young men and women running on the roads and fields and living in the classroom, we proudly induct Dean Kahl to the Athletic Hall of Fame.
Thank you for your very kind remarks. It is true that I got more out of coaching than I gave. I think it was part of it, really a highlight of my life. I have always loved participating in sports, and it was part of my life until my knees gave out. And I can't really explain. I think those of you who are athletes know what I'm talking about. There's some sort of a mystical thing that happens. And sometimes when you're involved in a competition, it's like you're super alive. I just can't describe how wonderful it is. And I miss it. And I haven't been able to run for a pretty long time. The camaraderie of sports is great. Winning is great. Losing is semi-okay. But it's part of sports. I mean, it's part of what happens. I don't know anybody who's done sports and hasn't lost. The students at Warren Wilson are extraordinary. I can tell lots of stories about stuff that happened in the van, and crazy races, and crazy workouts. But I'd like to tell one story. This happened in the 80s. The runners on the team organized a service project. And what they did was they ran from the gym to Mount Mitchell and back. Each man and woman ran about 5 miles. They raised money and gave that money to the United Way. I didn't have anything to do with it. The students invented the whole thing. I think I was even sick and probably couldn't participate. But that's the kind of thing that happens here. Another thing I'd like to point out is that teaching and coaching are very similar. Teachers and coaches share their knowledge, they share their enthusiasm. We have, as a coach and as a teacher, we have to encourage our students. We also have to demand discipline. This is the part that is difficult about teaching and coaching. There were students on campus who never ran for the big blue running machine because they got burned out in high school. One of our runners, one of our students, ran on a state championship in Illinois. She had no interest in participating, and she was burned out. Her coach demanded too much. So the hard thing about teaching and coaching is to get the discipline thing right. Another thing that's interesting about athletics is the camaraderie and the stuff that happens eating after a race, traveling in the van, and some of the stories you wouldn't believe. I see Billy Christie out there. I won't say anything about it. So, another thing I would like to mention is that I had assistant coaches during various times in my coaching career, and I always felt that the team was better when we had an assistant coach. You get different viewpoints, students get additional attention, and I'd like to mention those folks. Rob Glass, Bob Yeager, John Palmer, Lord Wall. Finally, I would like to mention the Warren Wilson Invitational. There were places on that course where the grass was about 6 inches high. If you've ever run in grass that is 6 inches high, it's really hard. Many cross-country courses are run on a golf course. That's not cross-country. It's easy. Our students, our runners, would eat that stuff up. What we really like is running in the hills. You get those folks in the flatlands, they'd be sucking wind after 3 miles. The other thing that was cool was that we did a little loop through the farm there where the piggery is. We had the people out there cleaning up manure, and they'd be clapping for our runners. It was great, really nice. And we would finish at Gladfelder, and there'd be a crowd, maybe 50 people there. So I'm glad to see that Bruce Hill is resurrecting the Warren Wilson Invitational. They had a race today at 5 o'clock. I missed it because it was at the barbecue, but I know that he's doing a good job, and I would like to encourage anybody that knows students and think they might like to run, gotta look up Bruce Hill. Again, I'd like to thank you folks. This is a great honor, and it's just been a really great ride here at Warren Wilson. We're just amazing students, amazing faculty. Where Hank, we lived next door, and it was really great. Hank and I had all kinds of arguments about athletics and sports, and it's just really great knowing you. So thank you again, folks.
How'd I do? Cynthia Tukowski is a junior player for me, senior player, but you're kind of leaving me a little early. You could give me one more year, couldn't you, Sid? Yeah. She's from Vail, Colorado, and she's a social work major. captain this year. I wish you could come out and watch her play at 1 tomorrow. She's got an injury, and we might boot her up and send her out on the pitch, you know, to see how she does. But she's not at her best. Sid is on the motor pool crew, just an incredible leader, great player, solid defensive back for me, just a great person, phenomenal leader. Really proud to have Sid introduce Ian Lundblad.
Andrew Lundblad was born in Loudoun County, Virginia, with a full belly of Gatorade. That she would become a world champion runner was not immediately apparent. In fact, she only began running when she didn't make the tryouts for her high school soccer team. She simply went with a sport that didn't cut anyone on the roster. That sport happened to be cross country, and the world of running has forever changed. Anne's impact at Warren Wilson College began 12 years ago when she joined our staff as student counselor. During this time, she has earned the respect of fellow staff and a legion of students as she lives the tryout right before their eyes. Anne's initial years in her chosen sport were a mix of early accolades, injury, and absence. She made district champion, all-region, and all-state in high school, but in college, running for William & Mary, she was plagued with injuries. For a number of years, her miles were spent not running, but traveling to Grateful Dead shows. That changed, however, when Anne moved to Western North Carolina and began ultra running. Since then, her successes have grown as fast as her legs could carry her, which was really fast and really far. In 1999, Anne began running ultras, and within 2 years, she won both the U.S. 50K championship as well as the 100K championship. Yes, both the 50 and 100 national championships. Between 2001 and 2012, Anne has held 9 national championships in events ranging from trail marathons to 100-kilometer races to 24-hour races and a world championship. For 7 consecutive years, Anne has held the United States Association of Track and Field Championship for the 50-kilometer race. 7 consecutive years. In the year 2005 alone, Anne won and set at least 3 course records, which still hold today. In addition, she won the Mount Mitchell Challenge, the Promised Land 50-kilometer race, and tied for first in the Carrboro 50-kilometer. She was named the U.S. Track and Field Female Ultra Runner of the Year and given the Ernest Award from the Tenor Mountain Games. And then, Anne topped it all off by winning the silver medal in the 100-kilometer World Championship. This silver medal remains one of Anne's greatest achievements, as she was long-gained by 30 kilometers, but somehow managed to change her mindset, keep her pace, and ended up finishing less than a minute behind the gold medal winner. Last fall, Anne and 2 team members won the gold medal for the U.S. in the World Championship 24-hour run. Yeah, she ran for 24 hours straight and ended up clocking over 137 miles. To this day, Anne maintains course records all over the country. But you don't have to take our word for it. You can look up Anne's achievements in Sports Illustrated, which featured her in 2009, or in the 9 articles about her in Ultra Running magazine, or in over 100 articles in the actual Citizen Times. Here's what you may not read about those articles: how Anne champions the other aspects of her life. She's married to another national ultra running champion, Mark Lundblad, and has a daughter, Emma, currently a high school student, not running track. Anne has been a counselor here at Warren Wilson since 2001, and the entire college community can attest to her warmth, her caring personality, as well as her high level of professionalism, keen mind, and open heart. Anne does whatever it takes to help a student be successful, and if one were keeping track of service hours, Anne would be meeting anyone's requirements. She volunteers with a number of agencies, and most recently became trained as a volunteer for hospice, and has been known to spend her lunch hours meeting with clients with this program. Did we even mention knitting? Anyone who has ever been in a meeting with Anne knows that her fingers, as well as her legs, are very fast, and her creations are often donated to needy organizations. and truly exemplifies the values of the triad. In the words of a recently graduated student, Anne is awesome. In honor of her extraordinary accomplishments on the national stage, the light she shines on her school as a result, and her commitment to walking the triad in her daily life at Warren Wilson, please welcome Anne Lundblad to the athletic conference.
Experience, and it's been terrific to hear about all my fellow inductees, and I can't wait to hear about Jimmie finally too. It's great how our sports and this college have affected all of us in so many ways, and our paths have all been different, but I think we can all agree that this institution and athletics have been major parts of all of our lives. And I'm grateful for that. As Sydney shared, I never considered myself an athlete at all, and I truly did. I had planned to go out for the soccer team when I got to high school, and my parents actually sat me down a week or so before tryouts started and said, you know, you're not going to make it. You just aren't talented. But my dad's like, you can't kick the ball. You don't know what to do. And my mom said, but you run up and down that field so well. You're the fastest one up and down the field. You just never touch the ball. So that's when they told me about cross country, and I thought, well, that sounds pretty good. No coordination required. And so the rest, I guess, is history. Like Kylie shared, I've never thought of myself as someone being especially talented, but I've just really been a hard worker and have just sucked every little ounce of talent I could get out of my body, or ounce of strength, or whatever. Warren Wilson has been such a support for me throughout my years of competing. In fact, I started this job on August 1st, 2001, and when Art Schuster called to offer me the job, I said, great, I would love to start. There's just this little matter, I'm going to France for the World Championship in a couple of weeks. Would it be possible for me to take a couple of weeks off at the beginning of the semester? Which is pretty unheard of, but showing the kind of support that I was going to have for the next few years, Art said, sure, no problem, we'll cover for you. And Art and my colleague Jill, that is in the Counseling Center, have done everything they can to cover for me, whether it's having to go out to train or travel to an event or making posters when I get back from an event. So it's been wonderful to have that kind of support and belief in me. The students here are amazing, and I think every day I come to this place, I'm just amazed by the amount of passion and interest that our students have. I love working with the athletes because somebody mentioned athletes just have, there's something a level we connect on maybe that we don't connect with other people on. So I love working with the student athletes, but every student here has a passion for something, and to be able to tap into that on a daily basis is fascinating. And the staff here are inspiring as well. We're working around such amazing people. Like Stacy, no one would ever know that she's a national champion because she just doesn't talk about that. She's here for the players. She's here for our kids, and yet she's an amazing person in and of herself. And I think every staff and faculty member here has a story that is behind the scenes that shows what kind of person they are. In terms of, I guess, just the lessons I've learned from running, I guess the main thing that comes to mind is just one foot after another, or in front of another. People always ask me, how do you run 140 miles? And when I think about it, I don't even know how I do it. I mean, it's just inconceivable, but it's just like we do everything else in life. One foot in front of the other. You just set a goal, and you just keep marching towards that goal. And I get to see that every day here on campus as I watch students march towards their goals in life. And I'm just glad to be a part of that. And I'm really grateful to be a part of this community. And And I do, even though I didn't compete or coach here as an athlete or coach, I carry this place with me everywhere I run. The miles I've run on these trails and the conversations I've had with students and colleagues, that stuff carries me wherever I run. So I appreciate everything. Thank you. I just realized most of our student presenters are social work majors. Yeah. All right, our last speaker to recognize Jimmie Terry is Danny Henderson. Danny plays on the women's basketball team. She's a junior, and unfortunately this is her last year of basketball eligibility, except soccer next year. We have 1 year of another sport, I didn't know that. She is also on the health crew, and she's from Simpsonville, South Carolina. Danny is a team captain. She was the MVP last year. She is a USCAA All-American honorable mention. She's a member of the Phi Alpha Social Work Honor Society. She's on the Academic Advisory Committee, and she's also a cabinet member. Danny Anderson has helped turn our women's basketball program around. And if you haven't come out to watch them play, you should come. They went 14-9 last year and turned a season or a team that's had a losing decade into a winning program. She's phenomenal to watch. Unbelievable athlete, Danny Anderson.
Thank you, Stacy. Jimmie Terry played on and captained the men's basketball team from 1979 to 1983. He was born and raised and still lives in Henderson County, North Carolina. After graduation, in true Warren Wilson fashion, he lived a life of service. After receiving a political science degree, he served his country in the Marines and now serves others by managing programs that teach employment skills to teenagers and adults. Jimmie and his wife Kathy and many of his family and friends have joined us on this evening, and I am honored to be the one to introduce the rest of you to a man they all know so well. There are few things in life that are sure, but we know a sure thing when we see it. When it comes to people we admire, a sure thing is a trusted friend who inspires us through words and actions, and who is there when we need them. Their individual deeds or achievements, while important, are secondary to the person we know them to be. Jimmie Terry is a sure thing. Jimmie's election to our Hall of Fame was a sure thing. He's the most nominated of our inductees. His teammates, fellow students, administrators, and a local resident with little connection to the school share a universal opinion of Jimmie. He embodies all that the Hall of Fame should stand for. During starting lineups, introductions, Jimmie was introduced as Jimmie Sweet Terry, a nickname earned for his casual smile and for his steady excellence. In the words of one of his nominees, simply put, he was the best player on what is likely the best team in school history. His stats: the team's leading scorer each of his 4 years, averaging over 20 points and 10 rebounds each and every game. As a basketball player, that's really hard. He was named team MVP in all 4 years that he was here. His teams won 78 games in his 4 years, including 2 conference championships. These were his proudest team moments, leading to 2 national championship tournament berths. Jimmie was named all conferences his sophomore, junior, and senior years, and named to the all-tournament team at the 1981 national championships, his proudest personal achievement. A teammate wrote, "He's the best I have ever had the honor to play the game with. Jimmie was unselfish, hardworking, and he wanted the ball with the game on the line." A casual fan describes his impact from the community perspective. In the early 1980s, I was introduced to an outstanding Warren Wilson College player by a mutual friend. I followed him before leaving the area, and he was one of the reasons the program excelled like it did during his time. I often read about him in the paper and know that the team was outstanding. Not to say that he was the only reason, just that he was a big part of why the team excelled. Another teammate said, the fact that anyone with knowledge of the period 30 years ago would quickly mention his name is overwhelming proof that Jimmie deserves this honor. No description of Jimmie is complete without recognizing the enormous power of his warm, positive, and infectious spirit. Jimmie often says so much without saying anything. His Magic Johnson smile sets people at ease, giving them permission to not take things too seriously. And yet, his serious glare straighten out the worst of attitudes. He prefers the smile, the positive approach. As a college friend once said, Jimmie could scare me with that serious look, but he was really a softie and so easy to like. Like all people who are sure things, it is the actions that speak the loudest. His actions represent and inspire a sense of responsibility. He shows up, he serves people, he's excellent at what he does, and he is kind and considerate to all. He continues to play basketball and may try to convince you that he hasn't lost a step. That may or may not be true, but in his play and in his work, Jimmie has earned the trust of his teammates and coworkers. His success comes from a personal standard he describes as the following. One thing I believe to the fullest is that if you think and achieve as a team, the individual accolades will take care of themselves. Yes, talent wins games, but teamwork wins championships. In honor of his outstanding achievements at Warren Wilson College and his remarkable life of service to his country and community, please welcome Jimmie Terry to the Warren Wilson College.
I'm the youngest of 12 brothers and sisters. A lot of my brothers and sisters are here, my nieces and nephews. I want to thank you for, a lot of them came a long ways, and I want to thank you for your support. You don't achieve water of this magnitude without some help along the way. I want to thank some people. The first people I'd like to thank is Betty and Donald Lawson, which is Mr. Lawson's brother and sister-in-law. Also is Harry Mills' godparents. I would have never heard about Warren Wilson if it hadn't been for them. I can remember my mother and father was sharecroppers, and I remember when they took her on the recruiting trip, they would always take me. They mentioned Warren Wilson College to me, and they always treated me with the utmost respect. Mr. Lawson came in my office the other day, and he told me, he said, "Jimmy, I'm so proud of you." He said, "I'm not going to be able to come, but he said, I just want you to know that I'm so proud of you." And Mr. Lawson, I hope you tell them that they will always have a soft spot in my heart, and they will never be forgotten. I would like to thank, I don't know if I really want to do this because I see this guy so much, but I want to thank my good friend Harry Mills. Harry and I have known each other, seems like 6 or 7 years. We've been through some good times, been through some bad times, but we've always been there for each other. The reason I started playing basketball because Harry and I became friends. And Harry was the best basketball player probably in North Carolina at the time. And I always said, you know, one day I hope I can be as good as Harry. And until I got to that level, I always used him as a guidance. So Harry, thank you. You know, because he was the level that I wanted to get to. And Harry, you know, he would tell me this and tell me that, and you know, when we got the chance to play together at Warren Wilson College, it was one of the best days of my life. I would like to thank the late Don Deitch and Diane Deitch. During the summer at Warren Wilson College, I didn't have any money, and they gave me a job, gave me a place to live, and And they said, Jimmy, this is your house. And by the way, they are Tim's parents. They said, this your house? You treated it as if you one of our children. They said, because you're part of the family. I can remember when we took a family portrait and Tim's daddy told me, he said, you know, just look at it, you know, I said, well, I'm the black person in the picture. He said, well, you the black sheep of the family. I got a little story I want to tell, and this will let you know who the other people I like to think of. During my sophomore year, I was approached by another coach, and he said, Jimmy, you know, you are the player we need, you know, and he said, won't you come play for us, you know, and of course I was always excited about him, and I said, well, maybe I need to think about it. And I said, well, I'll get back in touch with you. He said, if you don't, I will get in touch with you. So later on, that coach approached me again. He said, have you made your mind up? And I said, well, no, I really haven't. And I said, but call me tomorrow and I'll have your answer. So I went home and I went to my room and I laid down, I thought about it, and that next morning the coach called me. He said, have you made your decision yet? And I said, yes, sir, I have. He said, well, so what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to stay at Warren Wilson College. And he said, okay, that's fine. But he said, can I ask you why? I said, there's several reasons. I said, one reason is I have the best roommate in the world who was Tim Dyche. I said, if I left, I would never get to throw snowballs at Scooter Patrick and watch him go down the field. I said, I can't pass on the opportunity of riding the flying out bus again. I said, but most of all, I can't leave the teammates that I have because they are the greatest guys in the world and I won't ever get to play with them again. So I said, I'm going to stay at Warren Wilson College. And I've always remembered the word team. Together each accomplish more. And my presenter read this statement, and I'd like to read it again. There are plenty of teams in every sport that have great players and never win titles. Most of the time, those players aren't willing to sacrifice for the good of the team. The funny thing is, in the end, their willingness to sacrifice only makes individual goals more difficult to achieve. One thing I believe to the full is that if you think and achieve as a team, the individual accolades will take care of themselves. Talent wins games, but teamwork wins championships. I wouldn't have scored as many points as I did if I hadn't got all those assists from Dave Davis. I wouldn't have got as many rebounds I did if it wasn't for Lundblad Morrison and Doug Parker blocking up guys that on average were probably 4 or 5 inches taller than they were. I think about our team and I try to put together the perfect player. And this is what I came up with. It would be someone that could dribble like Dave Davis, shoot like Harry Mills, rebound like Lundblad Morrison, jump like Greg, big old Overton. That would be my perfect player. No, I'm just kidding you, LeBron James. But most of all, I'd like to thank Warren Wilson College. I came here a boy, but I left a man. I want to thank Warren Wilson College for not only helping me to achieve my athletic skills, but for most of all, helping me to be successful in life. In closing, I would like to say, Warren Wilson College, Howard Grade, Hall of Fame, Tim Dead. Thank you.
everyone in attendance to please stand and let's applaud the 2013 Hall of Famers. What a great evening, and the evening is not over. Such great comments we've heard tonight. You know, Mr. Martin, you're probably not the only athlete that's trying to impress a lady. You know, it's homecoming weekend. We'll hear some more of those stories. We heard about, for people who are not familiar with Warren Wilson College, you know, there's a lot of things you could probably do here. You could probably miss Dr. Hyman's economics class. You could probably skip a meal at Gladfelter, but you don't skip work. And that helps us as alumni and graduates get out and get a head start. And we really appreciate that. So what's next tonight? We will huddle up and we have a shuttle service available out front. We will make our way over to DeVries Gymnasium, and we will have the public induction. And what a great moment that will be. And at that time, a lot of your friends and family will gather around and want to take lots and lots of pictures with you, and we'll let them do that. And speaking of photos, I'm going to leave you with this kind of little humorous note as we close out. But I had an opportunity about 2 months ago. I was at a party. I was DJing this party for a lady. And the lady must have been about 30 years of age, her and her husband and child said, "Can we take a picture with you?" Sure. So they took a picture and they kept taking pictures. Then he wanted to take pictures. And so I had to kind of DJ, so I went back and as soon as I got a break, I asked the lady, I said, "Why did you want to take all those pictures with me?" She said, "I'm from Rhode Island and you're from North Carolina. I'm going to go back and tell all my girlfriends I met Al Roker in North Carolina." It gets better. I saw some of the family a week later and they said, "Green, guess what? The 7-year-old granddaughter woke up and was watching Today's Show and said, 'Mama, that's the DJ.'" Such a great evening. It's not over. And at this time, we're going to close out and ask that you make your way to DeVries Gym, and we'll get that ceremony started. And it'll start in about 20 minutes. So we got just a little time, but we really want to get that one started on time. So good evening, and we'll see you shortly.